Hello, beautiful listeners, and welcome back to Green Earth Essentials. I'm your host, Michelle Jackson. If you've been here before, you know this podcast is about holistic wellness, plant based living, sustainability, but also about exploring ideas, asking questions, and figuring out what actually supports our bodies and minds without turning health into another thing to fail at. A lot of the time, my episodes come from real life. Sometimes it's something I read about in the news or saw on social media that made me stop and think, is that really true? Sometimes it's a conversation with a friend or even with ChatGPT where I'm just trying to make sense of something out loud. Sometimes it's a problem I'm noticing in my own life, and sometimes it's pure curiosity because I'm always asking questions. For this episode, it was a mix of all of that. I've noticed something about myself lately. I care a lot about my health. I really do. And I try. I try to make good choices. I try to eat well. I try to move enough, rest enough, do the right things. But sometimes the harder I try, the more tired I feel. Not just physically tired, mentally, emotionally, like my system never really gets to rest. And that got me thinking, could trying so hard to optimize everything, my sleep, my diet, my habits, actually be working against me? So, today we're talking about the longevity paradox, why chasing optimization can sometimes age you faster. Now, I've spent some time looking into this, reading articles, diving into research, and thinking about my own experiences. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to have all the answers, but I can share what I've learned, what I've noticed, and what seems to make sense when it comes to protecting our bodies and minds over the long run. And there's one idea I'll share near the end that really changed how I think about longevity. Just one, and it's simple but powerful. So let's take our time today. If you're folding laundry, doing dishes, or just letting your mind wander a bit while listening, that's perfect. You don't have to sit up straighter or pay closer attention than feels comfortable. You can just relax, continue with your day, and listen passively. We'll move slowly and gently through this. All right, let's start by talking about how health slowly becomes something heavy. At some point, taking care of our health can start to feel heavy, not in a this is bad kind of way, but in a why does this feel like a full-time job kind of way. I've felt it myself, trying to track every habit, every step, every supplement, every sleep cycle. Even reading articles or following new studies, it can all start to pile up. And it's subtle at first. A little pressure here, a tiny nagging thought there. But over time, it's this low-level hum that never really goes away. I remember reading an article recently about how people who constantly track and optimize can actually feel more stressed, not less. It resonated with me because I've been feeling that exact thing even while doing all the right things. It's like health, which is supposed to feel supportive, suddenly becomes another task, another checkbox, another thing you might fail at. And that's when it starts to weigh, because even when you love what you're doing, your body doesn't really care if it's for self improvement or self care. It just responds to pressure. It just notices tension. I've experimented a lot with different routines, diets, supplements, and honestly, the difference isn't always in what you do. Sometimes it's in how light or heavy the process feels, how safe and supported you feel while doing it. And if it ever starts to feel like surveillance, like you're constantly judging yourself, that's when optimization stops helping and starts adding stress, which brings us to the next piece, stress itself. Because once the body is under constant pressure, it doesn't really care why, it just reacts. So now we get to the science behind why all that stress, even the healthy kind, actually matters. I like to think of it this way. Our bodies don't really care if pressure comes from real danger or from trying to hit every wellness goal perfectly. To your body, stress is stress. It's all danger. When we're under chronic stress, our cortisol, that stress hormone, stays elevated. A little cortisol is fine. It's helpful. But too much for too long, that's when it starts wearing on us. High cortisol affects sleep. It makes it harder to get the deep restorative sleep our cells need. And when sleep suffers, inflammation can rise. Our immune system gets stretched. Even our mitochondria, the little powerhouses in our cells, start to get fatigued. I came across a few articles recently that describe this as allostatic load, basically the cost of keeping your body in a constant state of readiness. It's subtle. You might not notice it day to day, but over time it adds up. And what I've noticed, even when we're trying to be healthy, eating right, exercising, tracking habits, if we're doing it with pressure or perfectionism, our bodies still interpret it as a threat. I've felt this myself. Even my good habits sometimes became another source of tension. I'd follow the perfect routine and still feel exhausted, frustrated, like my body wasn't benefiting from all my effort. So, the takeaway here is simple but counterintuitive. It's not just the things you do that matter, it's the way your body experiences them. Feeling safe, feeling supported, feeling like you can relax into your choices. That makes a difference your trackers or apps can't measure. And that leads us naturally to the next point, how optimization itself can start to feel like constant surveillance, like someone is always watching, judging, and keeping score. So let's talk about biohacking. I love the idea of using tools, habits, or small tweaks to support our health. That part is great. It's creative, it's empowering. But there's a line, and I've seen it in myself. The line between helping your body and constantly monitoring it, between support and control. Because our nervous system is smart, it needs more than routines or supplements to actually repair and thrive. It needs signals of safety, pleasure, predictability. If we chase optimization without that, what we're really doing is surveillance, watching ourselves, judging ourselves, checking off boxes instead of actually supporting our bodies. I've experimented with all sorts of wellness tools, sleep trackers, apps, even fancy supplements, and I noticed something. When I used them with curiosity and lightness, I felt better, relaxed, grounded, motivated. But when I approached them with pressure, I have to hit every goal perfectly. My nervous system didn't feel safe at all. It felt tense, alert, like it was still on guard. Even the things meant to support me started to feel like little tasks I couldn't escape. And that's the difference. Supportive biohacking gives your body the right cues. It's like saying, "Hey, I care about you. I'm paying attention, but I'm not stressing you out." Obsessive control? That's self-surveillance, not self-care. It keeps your body in alert mode, even if you're doing all the right things. So the lesson here is simple, but easy to forget. Your body needs safety and pleasure more than perfection. Those signals let repair, restoration, and longevity actually happen. Which brings us to the next point: perfectionism, the quiet, relentless driver that keeps us tense even when we think we're doing everything right. Now, let's talk about perfectionism. It's sneaky, isn't it? Not loud or obvious, just this quiet voice in the back of your head whispering, "Not enough, you could do better, try harder." I've noticed it in myself, even when I check all the boxes, even when I follow routines and schedules perfectly. There's this underlying sense that it's still not enough, and the body feels it emotionally, physically. Even when our minds tell us you're doing great, the nervous system can't always hear that. Perfectionism keeps the system in constant alert, rumination, overthinking, replaying things that went wrong. That's stress the body never asked for but still has to manage. Sleep doesn't come easily. Even when we do lie down, rest is shallow. Repair is incomplete. I've read a few studies about this, how chronic psychological stress accelerates markers of aging at the cellular level. Telomeres shorten, inflammation rises, recovery slows. It's subtle, yes, but over years it adds up. What struck me most is how personal this feels. We all try to improve ourselves. We want to age well. We want to feel strong and capable, but perfectionism turns those good intentions into pressure. Pressure our bodies interpret as danger. So, even when we're doing everything right, eating well, exercising, meditating, our body is still in fight or flight mode, waiting, not fully letting go. And over time, that accelerates aging. The big takeaway here, it's not just what you do that matters, it's the way your body experiences it. If your body never feels safe or finished, it can't fully rest. And rest is where real longevity happens. Next, we'll explore something many people overlook: joy, how it's not just a nice bonus, but a real biological input for longevity and repair. This is where things start to shift, because if perfectionism quietly wears the body down, joy quietly builds it back up. And I know that word joy can sound fluffy or indulgent, like something we earn after everything else is done. But biologically, joy isn't a luxury, it's an input. The body reads joy as safety. Laughter lowers stress hormones. Curiosity wakes up parts of the brain linked to learning and repair. Connection tells the nervous system you're not alone. Creativity gets us out of our heads and back into our bodies. Even pleasure, simple pleasure, sends powerful signals that it's okay to relax. I've come across this idea in different places: neuroscience articles, trauma-informed health research, even just watching how people feel after doing something they genuinely enjoy versus something they feel they should do. The difference is obvious. Should feels tight. Joy feels spacious. And that spaciousness matters. When the body feels safe, cells repair more efficiently. Inflammation calms down. Sleep gets deeper. The immune system stops burning energy on false alarms. That's longevity, not optimization, not tracking, not forcing. Joy works because it removes pressure. And here's something I've had to remind myself of more than once: joy doesn't have to be big, or productive, or meaningful in a way you can explain to someone else. It can be a moment, a smell you love, a song you replay, a random curiosity rabbit hole, a laugh that catches you off guard. Those moments matter. Your body keeps score in a good way. So when we talk about aging well, we can't separate joy from health. They're not on opposite sides. Joy is one of the ways the body knows it's okay to stay, to repair, to keep going. Next, I want to talk about something that ties all of this together: the idea that rest, real rest, is not passive, it's active healing. And most of us aren't getting nearly enough of it. Most of us were taught that rest is something you earn after the work is done, after the list is finished, after you've been productive enough to justify it. And even then, rest usually just means sleep. But rest is bigger than that. Rest is mental. It's the moment when your brain isn't solving, fixing, or planning, not scrolling with tension, not rehearsing conversations, just being. Rest is sensory, turning down the noise, lowering the lights, letting your eyes stop working so hard. Rest is emotional. It's giving yourself permission to pause without guilt, without explaining yourself, without promising you'll make up for it later. I didn't always see this clearly. I used to think that if I wasn't exhausted enough to collapse, I hadn't really earned rest, and I know I'm not alone in that. But the body doesn't repair itself when it's negotiating. It repairs itself when it feels safe. Unstructured time matters more than we think. Time with no goal, no improvement plan, no optimization attached to it. That's when the nervous system finally lets go. That's when digestion improves, hormones rebalance, cells shift out of defense mode and into repair. I've read this in different forms: sleep research, nervous system studies, even trauma informed health frameworks. But honestly, I felt it before I fully understood it. The days when I stopped trying to use rest productively, those were the days I felt more human again. Rest isn't passive, it's active healing, and it doesn't respond well to pressure. The moment we try to earn it, measure it, or optimize it, the body tightens again, which leads us to something important. If rest and joy are this powerful, why do so many of us still feel guilty choosing them? That's what we'll talk about next. We've been told that discipline is everything, that if you just had more willpower, you'd finally be healthy, finally be consistent, finally be enough. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes discipline doesn't look like doing more. Sometimes it looks like stopping. It's saying, I've tracked enough. I've tried enough. I've pushed enough for today. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Somewhere along the way, discipline got tangled up with punishment. We started believing that the harder something feels, the more it must be working. That discomfort is proof of progress, but longevity doesn't work like that. The body doesn't thrive on tension, it thrives on rhythm, on cycles of effort and recovery, stress and release. Too much discipline without softness becomes control, and control keeps your nervous system on guard, always waiting for the next command. I remember reading an article about blue zones, those regions in the world where people live the longest. And what stood out wasn't their discipline, it was their ease. They walked because it was part of daily life. They cooked simple meals. They rested when the sun went down. They laughed a lot. No tracking apps, no biohacking spreadsheets, just sustainable patterns that didn't require force. That's the kind of discipline the body understands: steady, kind, and flexible. I used to think good enough meant settling. Now I see it as balance. Because if your health plan can't bend with you, it'll eventually break you. True discipline is knowing when to pull back, when to let things be easy for a while, when to trust that you don't have to earn your longevity through exhaustion. And that mindset, that softer kind of strength, opens the door to something deeper, peace, which is what we'll explore next. This is the part I wanted to save for later because once you see it, it changes how you look at everything else. What matters most for longevity isn't how optimized your routine looks. It's how safe your body feels while you're living it. Safety is the foundation. If the body doesn't feel safe, it can't repair. It can't regenerate. It can't fully rest. Even the best routines stop working when the nervous system stays on edge. The body stays vigilant, cortisol stays elevated, inflammation simmers in the background, and that happens quietly. It often happens while we're doing all the right things. I've seen this pattern again and again in research, in conversations, and in myself. Two people can eat the same way, exercise the same amount, sleep the same number of hours. One thrives, the other feels depleted. The difference is safety. Does your body feel rushed or supported, judged or accepted, pushed or listened to? Those questions matter more than macros or metrics. When the body feels safe, systems downshift naturally, digestion improves, hormones rebalance, cells move out of defense mode and into maintenance and repair. That's when aging slows, not because you forced it, but because the body finally trusts that it can. Safety isn't dramatic, it's subtle. It shows up in how you talk to yourself, how much pressure you live under, how often you allow ease without guilt. And the good news is this: you don't have to overhaul your entire life to create safety. Small signals matter. Consistency matters. Kindness toward your own limits matters. Which brings us to the final piece: how to shift out of optimization mode and into something more sustainable, something that actually lasts. If there's one thing I hope you take with you today, it's this: longevity isn't something you have to chase. It's not a finish line. It's not a project you have to manage perfectly. It's something you create slowly, daily. You create it by letting your body feel supported instead of pressured, rested instead of rushed, alive instead of constantly evaluated. Health doesn't come from doing everything right. It comes from living in a way your body can actually stay with. So if you've been tired, if you've been trying too hard, if wellness has started to feel heavy instead of helpful, nothing is wrong with you. Your body may just be asking for safety, for ease, for permission to stop proving itself. These are the kinds of ideas I continue to explore beyond the podcast, in longer reflections, in transcripts, in slower, more grounded conversations. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find me on Substack at substack.com/at Green Earth Essentials. You can find the link in the episode description. That's where I share deeper thoughts, behind the scenes reflections, and written pieces for people who want wellness to feel more human and less overwhelming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for taking care of yourself in a way that actually feels like care. This is Michelle Jackson signing off.